Okay, we are live. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 91. This is a part 2 episode where Tom and I look at privacytools.io, and again, in the show notes, and we're going to talk about the second half of the website, and hopefully we get this done in half an hour. We thought we would get the whole site done in a half hour, and we only got halfway, and there's a lot more to cover. So if we need a part 3, we'll do a part 3, but I really think we can get this done. It's a lot of the stuff Tom and I were discussing are inside baseball things that don't necessarily pertain to the average person.
Right. And a lot of this stuff, privacytools.io is a fantastic site. One thing to keep in mind, very much tinfoil hat security. If you do all of this stuff at the same time, you're going to be really secure, you're going to be really tinfoil hatty, and you're going to be doing a decent bit of work to change your computing lifestyle. Not saying that it isn't worth it, but there's a significant chunk of time involved in doing everything on this list. So if you want to, pick and choose the kind of changes you want to make yourself more secure.
And you may think that this is okay, but trying to convince a significant other or a spouse or a child or the rest of the people in your family that you need 8,000 little key dongles to log into your computer is not going to go over well. So just be aware. And again, what we're saying is this is what you should be doing, not exactly what Tom or I or what a lot of people are doing. It's you can try, you can run with these. It's just a lot of tinfoil hatty. And again,
I don't use everything on this list. I use some of the things on this list, but definitely not everything.
And remember, we don't necessarily agree with everything on this list. What they're saying, and they explain this in detail, is that any service based in the U.S. to them automatically is disqualified because the NSA has a way to get in, has their hooks in under all these different laws. So what they're doing is they're looking for services outside the U.S. in I don't know the word, extraditable.
Non-Five Eyes.
Yeah.
Places that aren't too friendly with the United States.
So
that like their independence.
Yes. So we got through browsers, and now we want to talk about emails. So so before we start with emails, remember what they're saying is that this has SMTP TLS, so secure SMTP. The problem is, and we saw this with Edward Snowden and LavaBit, was that not SMTP TLS is not turned on most email servers. So while Gmail does it, Gmail to Gmail or from secure SMTP to other secure SMTP, a lot of other services are not. And therefore, they fall back to regular SMTP. So
right, which means your email, where you might say, "Oh yeah, well I'm totally using this awesome email provider that gives me SSL and sends all my email through an encrypted tunnel to other email providers." If bobsmail.net is like, "Oh well, we don't need security. Who cares about that?" When your email server goes to send an email to bobsmail.net, it'll send it unencrypted. Anyone in the middle can grab that email and read it plain as day. So keep that in mind. Email is probably the worst option for communicating nowadays if you want to stay private, unless you're using PGP, which we'll go into here in a bit.
Before we go into what is good and what's not, the absolute worst email platform is the one your ISP gives you. Just hands down, for so many reasons. And the biggest reason, remember when you had at AOL.com and that was the new hip thing and you wanted that AOL and you continued paying for it just so you can have it? The ISPs are the same way, except when you move out of Comcast's or Verizon's or Optimum's or Cox's or all those zones, they take their email. So all of a sudden you're going from one spot to the other, and now you lost your email. And think about what a royal pain it is. And also, they're not in the business of making email good. They're in the business of getting the rest of us on email. So they don't have push email. They don't have IMAP. They don't have this. They have a probably pretty awful web interface, and they don't really care. So web email or ISP email, the worst. Just if you're on it, start migrating now.
Yeah, just if you're on ISP email and you're not going to choose something on this list, just get a Gmail account. Do yourself a favor. Google's going to be around for at least a little while, right? Hopefully longer than your ISP. And make it easy. Get something that's not tied to a service provider. If you really want to be, crazy about it, go to a hosting company. Go to something like I use Hover personally, but you can use GoDaddy or Namecheap or DreamHost or anyone else and say, hey, I want an email at a domain I own, and you could do that too. That's fine.
But now let's say you want free or you want cheap. Okay, and this is what Privacy Tools recommends. And Tom and I were talking, we don't know a lot of these, but mainly they're not in the US. That's probably why. They all accept Bitcoin. That's one of the Whiteout does not. But again, they're paid or they're not in the US is their main thing, and they have a secure SMTP. And we'll just Ghost Mail, Open Mailbox, Proton Mail.
I've heard of Proton Mail. I've heard good things about Proton Mail. I personally haven't used it. Frankly, I'm going to be looking into a lot of these providers because I need to move email off of Gmail into something else that I can control. A lot of these guys take Bitcoin, and a lot of these guys allow you to run the email on a domain you own. So you could get the best of both worlds.
And I mean, look, you have to make this conscious choice to actually move your email. This is not a simple thing. I mean, they don't give you the space that Gmail gives you. They give you 1 gig or 2 gigs, or if you have your own server, you can do whatever you want. But the space is limited, and you go from there, and it may be paid, and you're going to have to give somebody some weird email address, your name at whatever.com. So just be aware of that.
Yeah.
Unless you run your own email server. But then again, if you're at that point, I mean, you know what you're doing.
If you want to make it easy to run your own email server, and I know the project is still pretty new, it's still, kind of getting its feet wet as far as design and development, check out Mail in a Box. It's also on this list. It's a fire and forget program where you spawn a server on the internet, or you install one in your home, you run this application, and it does everything for you. It takes care of all the hard stuff and just gets you to where you can send and receive email on your own box with all the niceties that you want, like contacts and calendar, all that great stuff. So if you want to, check that out. It's going to be more technical, right? This isn't for everyone, but if you're interested in running your own server, it's a nice place to start.
I have not done yet. I've been considering running my own email server, but then again, we're going to continue in talking about the next thing is, well, you might as well just send, if you're going to go through that trouble, you may want to think about sending just encrypted email. Once you get the idea behind encrypted email and PGP, which it's a pain to begin with, but you're at that point getting ready to start, you're just going to start doing it all the time. So the next thing is, how do you do PGP? And their choices are all great. GPG, Mailvelope, Enigmail, Torbirdie, and Email Privacy Tester. And I've heard of all of these.
Yeah.
So basically set yourself up with some PGP. I don't know the website off the top of my head. I use the Mac version, so the GPG Win.
Yeah, if you're on a Mac, Mail.app has got the PGP stuff built in. It's awesome. If you're using Outlook for everything, it's a huge pain. I'd highly suggest for you to move over to Thunderbird, Clause, or another email client, which we'll get to in a bit, that actually respects your right to use PGP. Outlook does not make it easy. Personally, I use Enigmail. Love it. Makes everything really easy, really seamless. It's just fantastic. It makes it all really easy to manage.
Man, I had a tweet about a week ago to say, is there any reason for me to move off of Mail.app into Thunderbird? And the only reason I may is if I want to have a consistent UI if I ever decide to go to a PC, which I don't have any intention to at the moment. However, I also just don't mind being in the Gmail web app all day. And if I need to do encrypted email, firing up Mail.app, or doing it offline and then copy and pasting the text in.
Or you could use Mailvelope, which is, it's encryption. It's crypto in the browser in JavaScript, which isn't the best thing to do, technically speaking. But if you need a good way, if you're just going to use the Gmail web app like most people do, but you want to send encrypted email, Mailvelope is a solid choice.
It's you download the extension. The only problem is Chrome will migrate the extension across your browsers. I think same with Firefox, but they will not import the keys. So you have to find a way to keep your keys easily accessible if you're doing this on different computers, which leads into a whole bunch of other problems. But if you want to test it out, Mailvelope is the easiest way.
Right. And let's say you wanted to load that key onto a USB stick, but you wanted to make sure it was encrypted. Stay tuned. We'll talk about that later.
Okay, the next thing are email clients, which I thought we just talked about, but the first one is Thunderbird. There's others, but you know what?
Yeah, I've used Claws. Claws is okay. It's not great. I like Thunderbird. I've not used Whiteout. It looks really slick. It's got a really cool looking web page. It looks great in these promo shots they're showing. I cannot speak to how it operates and if it actually keeps you safe or offers better privacy or whatever. But it might be worth a shot.
It says it runs on Chrome OS.
Yeah, it looks like a web app, I guess. It's interesting. It's definitely worth a look. If it's on this list, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. But I've personally not used it. I can't vouch for it.
So, well, let's move on. We'll come back to it because I do want to talk about the whole idea is, hey, I use Chrome OS for a lot of different things. Probably the majority of my computing is on a Chromebook throughout the day. So my needs are a little different than when I'm on a Mac or I'm on a PC. But, okay, basically, everyone likes Thunderbird. I think Thunderbird is mainstream enough that most people, when you mention Thunderbird, will know what you're talking about. It's cross-platform. It works on everything. And then you get the Enigmail plugin, and you're good to go.
Yeah, that's all it takes. Thunderbird, Enigmail, you're good.
Can you explain what email alternatives are? I saw this. I don't really understand it.
So email is an ancient protocol. You can see who's sending to who. Unless you're encrypting your email beforehand, you can see what's in the email, or unless you're sending it through something like TLS. These are messaging protocols. Instead of using email, they list Bitmessage, I2P Boat, I guess, and Pond. I have played with Bitmessage. Granted, it was early in its development. I didn't like it. I thought it was a little confusing. I have not used the other two. The other two haven't been on my radar whatsoever. And I haven't used their worth mentioning RetroShare here. I gotta say, I can't really recommend any of these. I can recommend using something like ChatSecure, which is a fantastic OTR plugin for Hangouts or whatever instant messaging platform you use. You can use something like Pigeon or even the ChatSecure app on Android and have totally secure conversations that aren't in email with perfect forward secrecy, with all that other great stuff. These I can't recommend because I haven't used them, but they might be worth a look.
I feel like if you're gonna have to use email, and if you don't want to use email, you're gonna have to use some other type of communication. And why not use encrypted chat on your phone or something that's cross-platform that works that way?
Right.
So next are search engines.
Yes. Now I am not completely free of Google. My default search engine is on this list, DuckDuckGo. I think they're good. They're not great. I know because I do some programming, I do some systems work. When I encounter error messages, I can throw them into that DuckDuckGo, and about half the time I'll get good results. When I throw it into Google, I get good results each and every time. Google is still by far the top dog when it comes to searching the net. DuckDuckGo is a good search engine. It's getting better. I'm hoping that by using them, I'm helping their metrics in some way, helping make it better. I've used Disconnect Search, which is pretty good. I I have not used privatesearch.io, but I think it would totally be worth checking out. I'm going to change my my default search engine and see what happens.
I mean, I've used DuckDuckGo. I think we talked about this a few months ago. I went completely DuckDuckGo. I didn't have a problem with it. I tried it when it first came out and didn't like it. I came back to it recently. It has a lot of spiffy features in the search box. You can set Chrome to be the default. You can do G exclamation point or G hashbang as they call it in the DuckDuckGo browser, in the DuckDuckGo area, and it will take you to a Google result. A exclamation point, go to Amazon. So it does have all these power tools that you can do. However, at the end of the day, I found myself always doing more Google searches. And I said, you know what am I doing? Like, I'm using Chrome, I'm using Gmail. What am I really doing? What am I hiding from? So I went back, but it's good to know that I wasn't completely terrified of switching over. And it produced enough good results that if I need to go back, I will.
Yeah, I like helping out kind of the underdog in the search engine space. So I'm going to stick with them for a little bit. I do like it. I like how customizable the search engine is. It seems like Google tries to shoehorn you into their way of doing things, which is nice most of the time. But DuckDuckGo really gives you more control over the experience, which I appreciate.
And one thing, search engine, we found out, I don't know, 15 years ago, paints a pretty accurate picture of who you are. So that if you want to get rid of one thing, and one thing maybe on this list, you may want to consider your search.
Yeah.
So
I have used which is on this list, ixquick.com. Really good results. I didn't think it was as fast as I wanted it to be. I'm used to Google's instant lightning fast speeds, and you don't really get that on DuckDuckGo either. ixquick, it's got pretty decent results. I like DuckDuckGo's results a little better, but especially for technical things, they tend to be a great choice. So I would totally check them out as well. As far as Metager and this Google search link fix, I haven't touched either of those. But check it out, see if it works.
Next, we go into encrypted instant messenger. So first off, SMS is completely insecure. There's no security. All you got to do is go down to the police station and say, they're called pen registers, and get a search. They'll hand you the information. You call Verizon and say, police department with this ID wants me to get all my text messages. It is not hard at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's if you're doing that. If the line appears as if you're currently using WhatsApp, Viber, Line, or Threema, you should pick an alternative here. And we like Threema. The problem is that it's closed source, and they like open source where you can view it or you can audit the code or anything like that. Chat Secure is great. Text Secure Chat Secure and Text Secure are based on the same platform.
Yeah.
Chat Secure is more open.
No, because Text Secure is using the stuff made by Open Whisper Systems. Chat Secure is just an OTR plugin.
Oh, it's
an OTR compatible IM client.
Okay.
Unfortunate naming, but it's the way things go.
But I've used both Text Secure and Chat Secure. They're both excellent. I mean,
Chat Secure in its recent update actually makes it super easy to get started. You can actually get burner accounts where you just say, hey, I need an account real quick. It'll search for an open email server, create you a random username with a random password, and you can just crumple it up, throw it away when you're done. It's great if you need to link up with with your friends real quick and then totally get rid of all the evidence. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Text Secure is good, easy to use. I like it. Is built into some Android ROMs today. CryptoCat is pretty rad. I wish more people used it. It's really disposable chat rooms is what it is. Really secure disposable chat rooms. They did have some security issues in the beginning. They have since fixed those.
CryptoCat is weird. I'll just tell you that. It's not hard to use.
I like it.
it's weird. You give the chat room name, which is this encrypted hash, and the chat room doesn't actually go away, and it's funky, but it's good.
Yeah, I like it. I've used CryptoCat to have, impromptu need to be secure right now conversations with less than technical people, with people that don't want to, install a bunch of apps or weird stuff. It's like, hey, here, go to this place, install this plugin, just click allow, and then type this in. And it works pretty well. I like it.
And we always have these conversations once every few months about chat platforms. But let's just say, remember, WhatsApp does use the Open Whisper Systems technology, underlying technology there. It's still not audited in the way we would like it, but it still uses it. So if you're on WhatsApp, for the most part, I'll tell you to keep on using it. If you want to go really secure, then maybe change it to one of these.
I'd suggest checking out Chat Secure. Even if you're just going to throw it away, it's definitely worth looking into.
Have you heard of these other ones, Ricochet, Contact, and Conversations?
Conversations is another Jabber client for Android. It does support OTR. The interface is a little better than Chat Secure, but it's not as focused around privacy. It's more general use. As for the other two, I have not used them.
Okay. Encrypted video and voice. Use any of those? Redphone?
I have used Redphone in the past. It has worked. The only issue is, you've got the person on the other end of your phone call has to have Redphone installed and has to be using it, which makes a lot of these things hard. Is you can do everything you can to protect yourself, but if you want to have this great encrypted conversation between two clients, between two people, the person on the other end has to do this stuff as well, right? Using Redphone on your end does not make an encrypted call to someone not using Redphone. They've both got to be running the software.
What about the software on Firefox? We did an encrypted video chat once in Firefox. Or it wasn't encrypted.
With Firefox Hello, it was WebRTC. Okay. It's okay. It needs to be proven out more. And I don't know if they're using ZRTP by default, which is typical real-time communication for voice or video calling. So I need to look into whether or not they're using that. It's all right, I guess. Linphone, I used like 6 years ago or something ridiculous, a long time ago, to do some SIP calling. So I can't speak to its modern implementation at all. I know SIP and everything was kind of complicated back then, so I don't have very fond memories, but probably worth a look if it's on this list. I have used Jitsi before. Definitely more complicated than Skype, but nothing you can't overcome. Jitsi gives you the ability to do pretty easy, video calls to one another, kind of like Skype.
I mean, I keep on going. Just if you don't remember, Skype used to be bulletproof. Skype used to be excellent. Then eBay bought them. They were still good. It was when Microsoft bought them a few years ago that they poked holes all over it. So if you were under the assumption that Skype was bulletproof, it is not, just as an FYI.
Yeah, it was right before Microsoft bought them. They said, oh, hey, well, we've got to start being friendlier to governments if we're ever going to sell this thing. So what Skype used to do is they used to have like these super nodes, and they would choose random people with good bandwidth across their network to route stuff through. And then it was all peer-to-peer encryption, and no one could read into what you were doing. It was the go-to tool for communicating. I loved old Skype. Old Skype had one of the best models you could ever ask for. And now it's just a chat platform. It's just another one of the chat apps. It's got a centralized server. It all runs through, one big filter box. The FBI can get warrants across it. Skype is, you should not be using Skype. It is insecure. And Every way conceivable. Yeah, it's encrypted to the fact that someone at Panera wouldn't be able to read your chats or listening on your calls. But if you're trying to hide from governments, Skype is not your friend right now. They're your biggest enemy.
The next topic, encrypted cloud storage services. So if you're using Google Dropbox and all those, the government has access to them. All of them try to make it harder, but it's not still, they're not going to be able to protect you. Look, the real answer is to find your own cloud storage, like using Amazon S3, encrypting it, and then shoving it on there. But if you need a thing, if you need something, C-File, Own Cloud, and Least Authority S4. I've never heard of Least Authority.
I haven't either. I haven't used C-File. I have used Own Cloud. I like Own Cloud a lot.
I've played with Own Cloud. I think you're right. I think instead of, it's a little hard to start up, but if you're at it's probably easier to encrypt your own files and put them on Dropbox or put them on your own personal drive and carry that around. But
yeah, I like Own Cloud. It's definitely got some bugs to work out. It is not bulletproof, but it's really one of the best things I've seen put together in a while. I like it.
Let's see.
Self-hosted cloud software really goes into a lot of the same stuff. Own Cloud is on that list. I have not used Pydio at all, or Tahoe.
You might as well, if you're trying to encrypt and do the self-hosting thing, I would look into doing something like that by yourself, running a server, going on S3, using Jungle Disk. I still think is a thing.
Yes.
Which is an encrypted thing. It's going to encrypt, and you have to trust the software to encrypt properly, or just use PGP and encrypt it and then send it up.
And if this should go without saying, but if anyone listening wants to know about running a server, about setting up the software, or has any questions at all, drop me an email. My website is right down here, right? SamuraiLink3@gmail.com if you're on the audio. I do this stuff all day, every day. Ask me about it. I will be more than happy to write a blog post or shoot you a tutorial or two.
Let's see, what else? Secure file sync software. I've heard
Yeah, I've heard good things about the sync thing. I don't have a reason for this because I run Own Cloud, but GitAnnex is probably, it's on this worth mentioning page. It's not really file sync software. It's more version control, but for big files. That's going to be more technical.
Use one of the other ones, the cloud sync solutions, and I think you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, BitTorrent Sync is not on there, mainly because they will not let anyone understand how their code works. Right.
They are not open source, and they refuse to open source, and the security community has been begging for a while, but it hasn't happened yet. So I would stay away from BitTorrent Sync.
Okay. Password managers.
I know we have talked at length about LastPass, but let's be honest, you're putting your data into someone else's hands. You're not controlling it yourself, and this is all about running it yourself or using trusted providers that are outside the US. I use KeePass. I have moved to KeePass from LastPass. I like it. It definitely does more than LastPass. It gives you more options. The interface isn't as straightforward, but it really works.
And, I didn't start with KeePass because there was no official Android app.
Yeah.
I think now they did it. You know what it is?
Yes.
Is that for me, look, LastPass goes, they explain everything to you. They really do. They tell you exactly how things work. So at the end of the day, you're trusting that what they're telling you is true. It's worked for me. They've done all the right things when issues have popped up. So for me, I really do like it.
Yeah.
Yes, you can do it like KeePass. It's completely off-site, and you have full control over it.
For file encryption software, we've got Veracrypt, which is a TrueCrypt fork. Personally, I'm still using the old version of TrueCrypt. I really like TrueCrypt. I have not begun to trust Veracrypt yet. From what it looks like, yeah, they're doing all the right things, making all the right moves, actually improving on TrueCrypt in good ways. I just haven't made the switch yet. And of course, GPG, the GNU Privacy Guard, our old standby for not only email, but it can encrypt files too.
But it can't encrypt the entire drive.
No, it cannot encrypt the entire drive. And then there's pzip if you wanted to make like an encrypted zip file.
Minilock is on this worth mentioning list. If you want to send, it's a Chrome extension. If you want to encrypt a file and send it to somebody. So if you just want to encrypt the file easily and say, here's the password through Chrome, you can do that.
I have heard of Descriptor. I haven't heard of it for years. But it's a full disk encryption system for Windows. I've heard good things about it. I have not personally used it.
At this point, we're out of time, but I feel like we're almost done. We'll just keep on going. The rest are a little too in-depth. So, like self-contained networks, I don't think anybody...
Yeah. Tor. The Tor browser bundle is great if you want to, get onto another network or anonymize your traffic.
And then we go...
That being said, if you're on the Tor browser and you log into Facebook on the Tor browser and then you go looking at illegal stuff, they can match that up. So don't do that. Act anonymous when you're using the Tor browser.
So, and I think that's where they say, oh, Tor is not secure. Yeah, it's not secure if you do those things.
Yeah.
Decentralized social networks. So if you want to be on a social network with no friends, I mean, this is, I guess, the way to go.
Yeah, I've browsed GNU Social. I looked at signing up for GNU Social. There's like 10 people on there. I'm gonna get hate mail now. Diaspora.
But it's only 10 people. Just think of it that way. It's only 10 people.
All 10 of them listen to this show.
So well.
I've used Diaspora. I used it on day one, and then I used it after a year. I don't really like it. It feels like a cheapened version of Facebook without the content. I was a backer to their Kickstarter project. It's the thing that actually got me on Kickstarter. I love the idea of a decentralized social network, but it is really hard to combat the network effect, and Facebook owns everyone.
So,
and unfortunately, Diaspora just didn't work all that well.
Next is domain name systems. If you want to change your DNS on the router, I mean, if you're at that point, I mean,
yeah, this looks like for setting up your own DNS, like not
using OpenDNS. It's you're making your own, and
interesting.
Then
normal people aren't gonna. I don't think you guys are going to roll your own DNS, but if you are, let me know, and I might have some tips maybe for you. Productivity tools, Etherpad and EtherCalc, kind of like Google Docs and Google Spreadsheets, but it runs on your own server or on an open source server that you would control, and you can share and edit documents simultaneously. It's pretty cool, actually. They work fairly well. Not Google Docs level of well, but fairly well. I'm actually pretty impressed with both of these projects. Protected text, I have not used it.
I have not used any of these, but then again, I answered no on the XKCD survey today. Do I care about text editors? The answer is no, I don't.
I do. I have strong opinions about text editors. And anyone who thinks Atom.io is a drop in the bucket has not seen multi-line editing.
I'm not even going there. PC operating systems.
My favorite, my absolute favorite, not the one I'm currently running on this computer, but my absolute favorite operating system in the world, Debian, is the first pick on this list. Totally free Linux operating system, rock solid stability, easy to configure automatic updates, and they are blazing fast in getting security updates out to you. I can recommend Debian 100% bar none.
I have only run Ubuntu and I think Puppy Linux in my lifetime, and I run Raspbian, so I guess I am running a version on Debian somewhere.
There you go.
And OpenBSD on my FreeNAS. So, look, Linux is Linux. They all work about the same. Now you're just picking the flavor that you want, and choice is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm running Arch on this desktop today. I might switch back to Debian later, though.
So then if you want a live operating CD and you really want to be you want to run virtualized, or you want to run where nothing is saved, Tails.
Yes. So this is, let's say, you want to do some computing, but you don't want to do it on your desktop. You don't want to leave a trail or anything in the cache, or even if you clear stuff, it's really gone. So one of the ways you can do that is using what's called a live operating system. You boot into it one time, and after you shut it down, it's all gone. It's all in temporary memory, and it all just vanishes. It's gone. The electrons cool off. It's out of there. Tails is awesome. You put it on a USB stick, you plug it in, you boot from the USB stick, it instantly connects you to the Tor network. Everything you do in that operating system, except the unsafe browser, as they call it, will run in the Tor network. It will be anonymized. You can do email, you can do encryption, you can do just browsing the news if you wanted to. Tails is pretty fantastic. Other good choices, Knoppix is good. I haven't used Knoppix in years. Usually it's part of a toolkit to use untrusted systems. You just boot into Linux and you've got Firefox and some Office utilities. And Puppy Linux is actually becoming a pretty popular choice for a quick run this temporary Linux system choice.
The key there is it runs on very old systems.
Yeah.
Like 210 megs of RAM it runs in. So
I would.
Go ahead.
I would highly recommend, if you're going to use one of these, try out Tails. It's very easy to get started.
And then I think the last thing is mobile operating systems. So don't use, look, I think iOS is actually really secure, but they're saying because it's not open and you really can't see it, you're trusting Apple's word. Android, as it is, AOSP could be secure, but again, if you want something that they vetted and everything, CyanogenMod, absolutely CyanogenMod. I
run CyanogenMod.
They take everything. I am not a fan of CyanogenMod for other reasons, not for security or anything else. I didn't fall in love with it immediately. A lot of other people did, and it's the easiest third-party operating system to install. They keep it updated. They integrate the security options like Chat Secure from above. They constantly work at it.
Yeah, it's gotten consistently better over the years. I have not been let down by Cyanogen yet. Now, I'm not saying it's bug-free, because it's not. Just like your phone operating system today, there might be bugs, there might be reboots, there might be some weird app crashes occasionally. But for the most part, it's my daily driver. I use this every single day on my phone. Firefox OS I haven't used. And Ubuntu Touch, I've heard from a buddy that it was an absolute disaster on the phone he tried it on. Stick with CyanogenMod. I've heard good things about Replicant, up and coming, but it's still a pretty young project. It's taking the Android operating system and replacing all the googly stuff with free software stuff.
It's one of those things. If you're going with a cell phone, you still have other issues to worry about, snooping on the cell towers and everything else. But
yeah,
if you want to make sure your data is not sent to third parties, CyanogenMod is probably the best one.
And you can even install CyanogenMod without the Google utilities, which actually doubles your battery life.
That's true.
There is one bonus category. If you wanted to put a non-stock firmware on your router, OpenWRT and DVWRT are great projects. I highly suggest looking them up. It's going to make you more secure. It's going to make your router operate better. It's just a great thing to do. If you're looking to get a little bit more hardcore and to run your own networking stack and actually get involved in doing some networking stuff, pfSense or OPNsense are fantastic. Based on FreeBSD, it's an actual enterprise grade firewall operating system. That's what I'm using at home, and it is fantastic.
I'm thinking about
easy to keep
pfSense.
updated.
I think when my router
really
dies, I just realized my router is probably 6 or 7 years old.
Yep.
I think it's time to move up. And if I'm gonna pay $150, $175, I might as well spend another $50 more and get an appliance and run pfSense and be really secure.
Yeah.
So,
and it's really extendable. So I've got it set up right now. When my router turns on, when my it's an actual PC, when it turns on, it connects to a VPN, and every single piece of traffic that I send from any computer connected to my Wi-Fi goes through the VPN. I do not use Time Warner's pipes in the clear for anything. It is a fantastic feeling. And anyway, throwing everything through a VPN makes YouTube way faster.
that's another issue, but yes.
Yes. Yeah, we can go into that later.
When you don't understand why on your 75 symmetric speed YouTube's not loading, it gets really annoying.
Yeah.
And look, at the bottom of these lists has a whole bunch of other links, not necessarily projects, but ideas. Keybase.io we like if you want to be verified on the internet. Security Now, which we take a lot of topics from, and Steve Gibson goes way in depth, and he does it right. We do like him. It's a little long-winded, but it does. And there's other things to help you get started.
Yeah. Yeah, take a look at this list. Go to the website. It's a fantastic resource, and it will be my go-to whenever someone asks, hey, is there a secure private program to do X? As a matter of fact, there is. Go to this website to learn more.
So, okay, we've run way too long, but I feel like we got this done. Maybe next week we'll talk about things that we do versus what we should be doing, and we can go from there. But anyway, let's end it now before everyone falls asleep, and we will see you next week.
See you,
Bye, everyone.